What's going on, everybody? Today I have another legendary item farming spot, and this one's particularly great, especially for you solo players out there, as well as group farming. Both are extremely viable, and both are excellent in terms of legendaries per hour. Let's get into it. All right, so today we're going to be heading to Mount Zavane, and we are going to be heading to the bottom of the map. So let's go ahead and jump into Mount Zavane. And right here, we're going to be heading to this little box type area right underneath the Sentinel's Watch waypoint. And while we're teleporting there, I'm going to go ahead and pull up this little map that someone has created on a website, and I'll leave this in the link in the description down below. But basically, the reason why I wanted to pull this up is to kind of show you the actual spawn points with the little markers on the map, so we kind of know what we're getting into. So right here, this is the location. This is going to be the Sentinel's Watch waypoint that we just teleported to. And we're going to head over here, and we're going to park a few people in different spots. So we have a few markers. Usually, you're going to have one person handle these two markers up at top, one person handling the west markers, these two, one in the room and one the monsters around this little circle, as well as this in this little kind of peninsula type thing. Then one south to handle these two spawns right here, and then one in this side room to make sure you're getting full value from each of these spawns. And if we were to go ahead and jump back into Diablo Immortal, we can go ahead and check out this spawn location and see that those spawns are consistent within the game. And when we jump over here, we'll see we have two spawns, one in this room right here, as well as some monsters right on the top of this circle. A couple of monsters in this room over here, as well as a few down in this little kind of area that's jutting out from the circle, as well as a few spawn points down here south, and a few on the side, right-hand side of the circle. And then there's, of course, the spawn point in the room off to the side. Now, as I said, all the spawn points in this circle, if you wanted to go ahead and do a little bit of extra farming, and maybe you're super active or your group's particularly active and you don't necessarily want to kind of stand in your specific spots, well, then you can come up here and kind of grab this location as well, and you can have someone maybe parking out right here to pick up this spawn location. You can even go further and maybe start farming out here as well, but I highly recommend, if you're just going to pick up a couple extra monsters instead of just kind of farming in your location, just to remain next to this spot if you wish to do so. And this spot is very, very solid, as I mentioned, for solo farming as well as for group farming. Yeah, you can see here I kind of already killed some of the monsters around this circle, and if I just go through and start killing the monsters again, I don't think I kind of fixed all their spawn points yet because I didn't kill off all the monsters, but I've noticed that the legendary or the orange elite monster is actually very, very high. I guess you could say drop rate, or the spawn rate of this is particularly high because I only ran this for about 10 minutes solo, and you can see the monsters are already spawning again for my solo farming. But I was actually able to find a couple of orange elites, and I can go ahead and show you a clip of that here. So as you can see, I ended up finding a orange elite off in the side room here, just randomly running through here because I figured, hey, this might be an interesting spot to test. And I went ahead and did so, because keep in mind, any spot that you may find in the open world isn't going to be necessarily immediately good just because you found a place with a lot of monsters in it. You do have to run over to these areas with a group or solo farming to check if you outpace the monster spawns, or as a group, it even upgrades the monster spawns, because oftentimes you'll find that it does not work. And I'll showcase it what it looks like as a group right here. So here we are farming as a group, and you can see we kind of got one on each of the 4 compass points: north, west, south, and east. So very, very solid there. Again, if you wanted to have someone, you could have kind of the west and south players kind of absorb that middle area, while the north player kind of goes up that room and picks up that extra spawn point if you want to increase your experience. But it is a lot of extra work, so keep that in mind. This spot is actually very, very relaxing. Once again, you kind of just move around, stick to your spawn point, and then run around and pick up the loot every so often. You can pick up some nice kill streaks here, infinite kill streaks, if you do time out your kills correctly. However, I would recommend that you don't really go higher than 100 kills if you do decide to do that, because you'll kind of drop your experience rate farther down than just going for the kills themselves. And I wanted to go ahead and experience this for a little while. I ended up testing this for a couple of hours the other day, and I did get some very, very good legendary drops. Now, I did test this solo more so than I did test this as a group, and the drop rates as a solo player was able to get me about 4 legendaries per hour. Now, I'm not sure if this is just this location or if I was just super heavily RNG'd. I was running Treasure Hunter, so keep that in mind. I probably suggest about 3 legendaries per hour is going to be a more accurate average. 4 legendaries seems on the higher end based on some other spots that I've tested. So I would say about 3 legendaries per hour if you're farming here solo. Keep in mind, I only have 15% magic find. If we just hop into game here and just showcase it, a lot of people point out my magic find and say that these spots are just not doing it for them. Look, 15% magic find. Why is that? Because I don't have my gems upgraded to rank 5. So anytime I test a spot, it is with this 15% magic find, which is normally lower than a lot of you free-to-play players out there. So just keep that in mind. But again, if you want to farm it solo, if you want to farm it as a group, both are excellent ways to do so. The only downside is that you're not going to find any shrines in this area, so no XP shrines or gold shrines. However, once again, the legendary drop rate is one of the higher I've seen of these more relaxing farms. Now, one last thing is I want to come back over to this map here. And if you're ever interested in testing out your own spawn rates and your own farming spots, I'll go ahead and leave this in the description down below, like I mentioned. And you're just going to go through here. And what I kind of do is just look at some of the locations. Like, for example, if I find something like this, where it's like, they're not an easy path necessarily to follow with all the monster spawns, I'm not going to bother. But if I see this spot right here, which I've never actually tested, this kind of 4 spawn location, easy, very small circle, or this one where I could see, oh, I could stand right here and pick up these spawn points and stand right here, for example. I kind of just look at this map after I found out about that, because before I was literally running around the map and it was just not working out as easily. This makes it much easier. And for example, just to give you an example, this spot right here above the Sanctified Earth Monastery, we came to this as a group of 4, and this spot is not good at all. The monsters spawn about every 40 seconds, which is almost twice the amount of time that the average spawn rate is when you run as a group of 4. So keep in mind that you do have to test this out both as a solo player for solo farming and as a group for group farming, because both will change the spawn rates differently based on what location you're at. Once again, this spot down here, you're going to get about 3 legendaries per hour with about 75k experience per minute, which I would consider that a baseline for an average good spot, average to good spot. And this one in particular is one of the better ones for this method, which is more relaxing, lazier farming, similar to the ship farming and library farming. This is probably one of the best spots that I've found so far, and I'm always looking for new spots for you and for everyone to farm. That way, no one is kind of, where do I farm? Where do I go? There's so many spots found or used up right now. So this kind of helps us, run into new areas as well and not overwhelm people. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully you're interested in checking out this map, and hopefully this spot will help you find a new spot to farm legendary items if that's interesting to you. And I will see you in the next video.